I'm in my zone.
Hey, this is Zero at Review Zone HD, and I'm bringing you guys the final video for 2011, on at least the final video that I'm working on in 2011. This is actually just before midnight on New Year's Eve, and I decided to play some Dragon Rising for a few reasons. One, I had one of you guys asking about this game because I had mentioned that I had it and I was going to be reviewing it, so I figured I'd go ahead and knock this out before I start Marvel Week, which I'll be starting that probably in the next few days. But what I'm showing to you is one of the bonus missions in the game. You know, it's kind of silly how they did this. The regular game comes with, I think, 10 or 11 single player missions. I'm not actually looking at the screen, so I don't know how many missions it comes with exactly, but it's around 10 or 11. But these bonus missions, and right here actually I just died, and I wanted to show this to you guys instead of just cutting it out, because I want you to see how quickly you die on this game. I mean, that was just instant out of nowhere, and I talk about that quite a bit in the review that I've already wrote up. But back to what I was talking about, the bonus missions. It's kind of silly how they did this. If you go on the internet and just search for, you know, Operation Flashpoint Dragon Rising bonus mission codes, it'll pull up all these codes for these extra missions. Why they didn't just put them in the game to begin with, to just let everybody play on it, is beyond me. They wanted you to have to look up these codes to play these missions, so yeah, that's kind of lame. But anyways, you know, this game's not very good, but it's still one of my favorite games on the PlayStation 3, and I ripped it up pretty good in the review. But you know, in all honesty, this is one of the few games that I platinum, and it's, you know, the only time I even go after a platinum is if I really like the game, and I was really determined to pull this platinum down. And this is actually, I think, on the PlayStation 3 Trophies website, this is rated one of the hardest games to platinum because of the difficulty on the game. And I'm going to talk a little bit about that in this video, because I talked about it in the review, but you know, the reviews, I'm only maybe doing like a 4 or 5 minute review, so I really don't have a whole lot of time to just go into depth about some of the things that I'm talking about or saying. There's a lot of times where you're getting shot at, and you can see the tracers, so you can see generally what angle or where the enemy's at. Like right there, I just saw that tracer, so I'm trying to lock in to figure out where he's at. But the environment on this game is so kind of like murky, and the enemies are usually the same color as the environment. It makes it really tough to see where they are. And like right there, I'm trying to shoot him through a tree. Like, he can see me, he can shoot me through the tree, but I can't really see him back. And that's kind of what you're dealing with throughout this game, and it definitely makes it frustrating in a lot of sections. If you're going after the platinum, you have to play it on the hardest difficulty. You don't have that compass at the top that shows you the enemy locations. Like right there, you can actually see the little red dots on the compass, so that I can kind of get a general idea of where they are. Now, if you're playing it on the harder difficulty, that's completely gone. You can hold, I think it's triangle on the PlayStation 3, and it brings the compass up, but I don't think they show up as red dots unless they're firing at you, and even then I'm not sure that, I can't remember if they actually showed up or not. But the way that you're actually able to spot them when you're playing on the harder difficulty is your teammates will call them out. They'll say like, enemy 100 meters southeast, which is pretty cool. It's a very cool concept. But going back to the having trouble actually seeing them, I mean, I'm playing on a 37-inch LCD TV, and I've played this on even bigger TVs than that, and it doesn't make any difference. They're still going to be hard to see no matter what kind of TV you're playing on. The starting points of the missions are some of the most brutal, because some missions you start without a scope at all, and the enemies will kill you from across the map. I mean, you pretty much have to assume that every enemy is just an elite sniper, because they will put you down from so far away that you can't visually see them. And you know, what ends up happening is, when you're playing on the harder difficulty especially, is you have to scavenge weapons. So once you kill a few enemies, you have to go and hunt their dead bodies in the dirt to try to find a better weapon that's got a scope on it. So it's kind of a funny concept of how they designed this game, and they address that with the next game. In the next game, you actually get to pick your weapons and stuff before you start the missions. So for that reason, I actually enjoyed the next one a lot more than I did this one. But The next one's a lot easier, so when I beat the game, and I haven't gotten the platinum on it yet, I'm really close. All I gotta do is just play a little bit and level up a couple of my characters and I'll have it. But I'm not gonna have that same sense of accomplishment as what I did when I was playing through this game. And another problem with this game is, like, you'll tell one of your teammates to heal themselves. Like right here, I'm telling this guy to treat wounded. Well, they're not wanting to listen to me. I don't know what the deal was with that. They didn't want to treat him. And sometimes when you die, you'll fall over dead, and you'll be rolling around waiting for the medic to come. You'll be calling for the medic, and he just won't come. And it's a lot of little things like that that really ruined the experience that this game could have offered. And it makes dealing with, like, your enemy, the enemies are pretty smart on here. They'll flank around, and when you shoot at them, they instantly take cover. They'll fall to the ground and roll around shooting back at you. And it makes them tough to actually battle them. But your computer teammates that are with you are actually pretty good as far as their accuracy. When they're firing, they'll usually kill what you tell them to. But it makes it kind of tough to move around with them. Like when you run, they usually won't run with you, so they'll be somewhat far behind you by the time you stop. And if you give them a direction to actually go somewhere, sometimes they'll go where they need to go and sometimes they won't. If you tell them to, take cover or something, sometimes they will and sometimes they won't. So it's kind of like a coin toss on how the game's going to play out, and a lot of it just comes down to just luck, which, when I say luck instead of skill, I mean you may get hit with a stray bullet from across the map or you may not. So when you're playing a game that's, the gameplay mechanics are like that, I talked a lot about the difficulty in the review, but there's a very good reason behind it. Like, even if you scale the difficulty down and you play it on the easiest setting, it doesn't change the enemy AI. They're still as accurate as they're going to be when you're playing on the hardest setting. So even if you bought this game and didn't care about the platinum, didn't care about trying to play it on the harder setting, you're still going to have a tough time on here. You can't just run through this game like it's Call of Duty and just start shooting at everything as you're running along. You really have to take cover, and even when you take cover, you're still going to get hit behind the cover. It's just, it really sucks that you can't pick your weapon, because if you could have picked your weapon and you could have picked a scope to put on your weapon, this game would have been just flat out awesome to play. In fact, I would have recommended everybody to go pick it up and play it, give it a try. And there's a lot of other little things that can make this game frustrating. So you're probably saying to yourself, well, if it's this frustrating, if it's this aggravating, why would anybody play it? Why would I play it? Why would it be any fun to play whatsoever? Well, the game's actually, it's the only game like this on the PlayStation. Like, even the sequel, like right here, I'm not actually dead, by the way. I'm calling for the medic to come get me back up. And this is actually something that I think was changed with one of the patches, because before they had 2 patches, and before one of the patches came out, if you got hit like that, it just game over. There's no coming back from that if you get shot in the head. But after the patch came out, they changed that. So they at least took a step in the right direction. I actually got my platinum before they changed it, I think. But anyways, that's an entirely different topic. But the reason why I'm saying this game's actually decent or fun to play is there's nothing else like it. There's no other shooter that you take a group of people and you go sneaking around the map and trying to accomplish an objective. And these maps are huge, and when I say huge, I mean they're so big that like, if you decided not to do the objective and just travel around the map killing enemies, I mean, you'd be walking for a really long time. I forgot how many hours they said the entire map was to cover, but it's pretty big. So that's pretty cool that they designed it that way. But the fact that you can't put a scope on your weapon and you can't choose your weapons, it just makes it kind of frustrating. Like, some missions are really easy and some missions are just incredibly frustratingly hard because you're just so at a disadvantage in the firefights. So I know that it's just kind of a whole lot of complaining about the game, but I'm just trying to make it abundantly clear for those who haven't played the game the issues with this game, because I certainly don't want you guys watching the video going, yeah, that game looks like it's alright, and then go pick it up and leave a comment like, man, this game sucks. Because I had a few friends that picked this up and they were certainly not happy with the game because of the stuff I was talking about in this video. But that's pretty much all I got. I know this was a pretty long video. It's kind of a boring video, but I just want to show a little bit of the gameplay. Anyways, this is Zero at Review Zone HD, and I'll be bringing you guys more soon.